For those of you who've walked in, we'd like to thank you for joining us here at 100 Poets for Change, or rather 100,000 Poets for Change. Well, the first time it was 100, now 100,000. I was like, yeah, more people, that's great. My name is Joe Brundage, and I am your host. And if I have cookie crumbs in my beard, don't say anything. Just go with it. Just go with it. I like cookies. I like cookies. All right, so this next poet coming up to the stage, and Spirit Tom can back me up on this, is a bit of a liar. Upon hearing this poet's work, you will go up to said poet, and I'm using gender-neutral pronouns because she knows I'm talking about her, but I'm just being facetious to drag on. But upon hearing their work, you will compliment them about how much their work affected you, and she will respond, "Hey, it's all right, it's on my mind," or whatever. But what I will say is that in between now and the time she comes out with either her own book of verse or her first blog or podcast or whatever, or both, and in the meantime, in between now and the time she makes it there, it's a joy to see her work on the rise. It's a joy to watch her become what you already know she will be. Without any further ado, I ask that you put your hands together for the poet Christina M. Jackson.
I met him years ago at Kick Butt Coffee, and I've been going there for quite a while. And that was thanks to Tom, actually. He's the one that clued me into that place. The place is quite the home for me now. I like it. So I'll just do two pieces that are, I guess, medium length. So the first one, Convalesced Tiny Hands. There lived a man whose ego was grand, but sad as it was, he had tiny, tiny hands. He would point to the bankers, to the liars and thieves, and say, "This is your land, let me do as you please." One man stuck a pen in his tiny, tiny hands and said, "Sign, sign, silly goose, I've got big plans," said Steve Bannon, and boy, that cannon was loose. Together they shot at the South as they hated avocados. They even shot to the North so their health care doesn't haunt us. But a shot at Australia I find in most disdain. Tiny Hands Commander, or Chief Dorito if you will, just sat in bathrobes and complained. The land from down under interrupted my stories. They wanted me to hear them and their precious allegories. I don't care about Aborigines' plight. I can't even handle the natives here, and I'm not looking for a fight. So he thought he'd watch The Young and the Restless and see who slapped whom this week. He wanted something to lift his spirits, and his soul needed healing, his soul needed food, and he didn't know what else to do. He handed the cannon the keys to the kingdom and bid the House of White a farewell, for it would be a very long season. He wanted to see the world and see why he was hated so. Truly was his ego that begged and begged for him to go. He knew the Commander-in-Cheeto name was growing rather old, and everyone who crossed his path he truly wanted to scold. He wasn't welcome in North Dakota where the waters were turning black. He wasn't welcome in Chicago where even cops don't have the knack. So he bought a new hairpiece and even changed his name. This brunette man named Jack would never be the same. His passport grew stamps and his mind grew curiouser and curiouser. The Amazon is the place for an amazing star who's furiouser and furiouser. Get away from it all, be the man of the hour. I have the dollar, I have the power. He boarded a plane, went as far south as he could get, trying to run from all the worries, all the quarrel and the fret. His magical plane took him far, and once he got there, he even bought a car. He drove down dirt paths, not knowing where they lead. As long as no one yelled, "Chester Cheetah," he was sure to be pleased. So for the first time, he heard the songs of the birds. When the flutter caught his ear, he saw diamonds in the water as the sun reflected near. As the colors of the sky slowly opened up his mind, he made friends with the natives as they were oh so kind. They didn't ask him to sign anything, nor ask him to read a word. Just asked him to help fish, help cook, and be one of the herd. He was always a loner who never felt at home. And now he sees this is what made him want to roll the dome. He had never seen the sun rise unless he was on the golf course. He had never strolled down a river unless it was to buy it first. But something in this freedom, something in their simple life, struck a chord with the tiny hand commander. He enjoyed this simple lack of strife. He saw gold in the land and diamonds in the sky. He apologized to Mother Earth for never hearing her cries. Just as he uttered his first kind word, It was far too late and the waters began to turn. Black as a snake and thick as molasses, he tried to help the natives clear the land masses. He tried to grab sloths, he held out ropes for reptiles, and when he looked upriver, he saw men with crooked smiles. He stomped his feet and demanded names. He wanted papers. He wanted to know who was to blame. When they handed him the deed, he hung his head in shame. For it was his writing he could read, and in blood was his name. The moral of the story might not be so clear, but I will leave it at this. Let Mother Nature steer. I actually hoping to turn it into a children's book. I guess I should hurry up on that while he's still in office, or however long that might be. So this next one is actually more serious, and it was brought on by a couple of recent events, things that had actually made the news. Which of course you know about the flood, but you may not know about the conditions in prisons in South Texas, particularly following the flood. So here's something about that. They say you get what you deserve once you've shackled, sentenced, and shipped downriver, awaiting your pardon, doing your time, more than likely hoping to be forgiven by someone, somewhere, anyone, anywhere. And I know what you did. I readily believed the news. It was easy to see the truth, as I already knew what you were capable of. I washed my hands clean of you long ago, and the blood-red stains, the purple bruises, all faded, all gone. But no water, not even saline falling from sky-blue eyes, can truly repair the skin and replace the scars. I will always have a gentle reminder of just what you're capable of. I will also remember your hearty laughter, though it was rare. It could fill a room the way lightning fills the air, and I remember a certain delicate look in your eye as we spoke of skinning rabbits for the sake of a medicine wheel, as you shyly explained to me man's place in nature and my place in the world, how duality exists in everything, that death lingers at the heels of the living, and this is the way of things. Your lessons shook me the way thunder shakes the ground, even shifting my tectonic plates. I would go on to build mountains, mountains guarding me from gritted teeth and white knuckles, guarding me from men like you, at least for a while. But really, who am I to judge? It is only wise that I allow a select few figures into the hidden valleys of my own landscape. And in these valleys, I know shadows exist. I know I cannot feel the warm sun on my face without a cold chill at my back. I know that despite your crimes, even the ones you got away with, you don't quite deserve to drown as you're shipped downriver, shackled, sentenced, as local news tells stories of you and your kind being fed poisoned fruit by power-hungry guards. And the only water left to drink after this historic Texas flood sits freely in a prison toilet. Honestly, for all I know, perhaps you do deserve these things. But I do not want shackles and resentment. So who am I to judge?